Being an activist has created more difficulties in me than I could have ever imagined. But first, I'd like to thank and honor everyone for accepting this award. I stand here today with the distinct privilege that many others do not have. And I say privilege because I'm aware of how many of our queer and documented brothers and sisters and everyone else were unable to attend creating change. Had this award been given to me just a few months sooner, I unfortunately would not have been able to accept it. Had this award given to me just a few months sooner, I would have declined accepting it because I am not a U.S. citizen, and I was not documented. I ask then that we become more aware of the people not at our tables. Therefore, not by choosing, but by that of immigration law. This is why I do the work that I do, because it is increasingly important to me to be aware of the empty spaces these communities leave at our tables. I first remember coming to Creating Change in 2008, Detroit. While many of my peers were struggling with what to pack, what to wear, what to make their status update on Facebook, who they were going to see first, I was busy practicing what I would say to TSA if I was questioned, or how I would explain to people at the conference that I actually could not go. I spent weeks making a plan in case I was arrested at the airport if I lost my identification. I would worry about not fitting in enough so that I wouldn't be searched or questioned. I was worried about losing my ID and not being able to fly home. Coming out as gay has always been an easier process than explaining for me what it means to not have the privilege of citizenship. Not being a citizen means that although I was born in Mexico, I can't go home to visit my mom. My little brother I haven't seen in years, and unfortunately I'm not able to be at the funeral of my grandparents. It means that although I have a brother and sister only a couple states away, they cannot travel to see me because they lack identification to board an airplane or drive a car. As a result, my mom and my brother have yet to meet my partner of 3 years. My brother is unable to see my home or my life, and as a result of that, until last month, he still thought that me being gay meant that I was going to be a woman, and I was in the process of transition. And it's not my fault. It's not his fault either. My brother was unable to see my home and didn't understand my sexual identity, and all he knew of that was what he could see on weekend telenovelas. The fear of isolation, distrust associated with becoming undocumented makes it difficult for anyone to assimilate their queer identity with their heritage. For me to be Chicano and gay, Latino, it's hard to mesh sometimes. But being an activist has created even more difficult situations than my identity has. As a non-citizen, I've been consulted by my immigration lawyer to not sign petitions, to not vote, to not even contribute to political candidates or campaigns or write congresspeople. Any of these things can be considered as treason, as defined in immigration documents, and even things like protesting can jeopardize the conditional visa I was finally granted. A visa that was only granted to me because a U.S. citizen committed a heinous crime against me. That was my only path to citizenship. How then can I work on social justice issues impacting my community, while also balancing the reality that I may lose my home for the work that I'm trying to do? How can anyone in my position fight for marriage equality or immigrant rights when the protests can cause for my deportation from this country? I'm not the only one facing these issues. Many families cannot attend this conference because they are undocumented or their identification doesn't match birth records. So I challenge each and every one of us here. Who are the people who can't be here? Think about those stories, the experiences, the ones we are missing. What groups are not represented? How does this affect our movement then? We have a responsibility, and I hope I can ask each and every one of you to take on that challenge of figuring out how to make the information and resources that we have accessible to us here as a privilege to also be accessible for our queer and documented folks back home. With the record number of folks being deported every year, even under the Obama administration, I ask that we work more diligently to support and broaden the voices of our immigrant communities. Provide alternatives to travel so that people don't have to risk flying. Be aware of immigration laws in your states and provide that education to your communities. Tell them what the rights are if they are detained. Acknowledge that not every activist can vote or sign petitions, but that doesn't make us any less of an activist. Share our stories. Share our stories and ask how you can help. And when you do ask them, make sure that you follow through with those asks. Change how you speak about immigration, like deleting the words illegal immigrant. Interrupt your peers when they do the same, because it may not seem like much, but calling us illegal criminalizes us, makes us feel like our basic existence is wrong. No human being is illegal. I look forward to continuing the work of these intersectionalities of our identities because I believe that it is truly where the most amazing work happens. LGBT rights are immigrant rights, and immigrant rights are LGBT rights, and together, we can create a best society. As we move forward, we must also engage young people in these processes. The task force understands the value of mentoring young people. The number of opportunities at this conference for youth is important to them. Russell Roybal has been a personal mentor to me for years, and personally, the staff of the task force have always been available to me or anyone else here when they needed resources or positive role modeling. And finally, I just want to plug two of the most amazing organizations, Cascade AIDS Project that I work for, but also Advocates for Youth, who understand how valuable the contributions of young people are in any social justice movement. Y'all make amazing things happen and create spaces for me to gain the skills that I needed to move my communities forward. Maybe this kind of change is actually the kind of change that the Mayans were prophesizing in 2012. I'd like to leave you with just a few words from my favorite poet, Marianne Williams, from her book, A Return to Love, in regards to our power. It's not just in some of us, it is in everyone. And as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give permission for others to do the same. And so to all my mentors, many of which are in this room, thank you.